Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how to make the perfect stewed beans. Some of my foodies requested for this recipe and I'm so glad I was finally able to find the time to film it. So without wasting any more time, let's get to it. So I always start by picking the beans to get rid of any stones that might be in there, and I always pick my beans manually because that's the only way I know how to do it. If you have a faster or less stressful way to pick beans, kindly share, that will be greatly appreciated. Next, I'm going to wash the beans by just running water through it a couple of times. I'm going to do this for about 3 to 4 times. And I'm using cold water or room temperature water so the back doesn't start to peel. When you're rinsing, most of the dry shaft is going to float to the top, so you can just scoop that out. And the beans I'm using for this is oloyin beans or honey beans. I prefer this variety of beans because it's a bit sweeter. You can also substitute that with regular brown beans or black-eyed peas. If you're cooking with a pot, transfer the beans to the pot, add onions and salt and lots of water. It should take about 45 minutes to 2 hours to fully cook, depending on how fast your stove is and the variety of beans you're using. Just make sure you keep an eye on it and you keep adding water so it doesn't burn. Personally, I like to use an electric pressure pot because it's much faster. So if you're using that, the same process. Add the beans, add lots of chopped onions, salt and water. I'll cover this and then close the air vent at the top, and next I'm going to use the bean or chili option to cook the beans. It should take about 18 minutes. You can also use the porridge option if you like your beans a bit more mushy. While the beans is cooking, I'll get started on the sauce. I usually use red onions, or you can use white onions, Scotch bonnet pepper and a little bit of bell pepper. And I'm using the bell pepper because the Scotch bonnet pepper I have is really spicy, so I'm just using the bell pepper to cut down the heat a bit. The bell pepper also adds a nice sweetness to the dish. Blend that until it's smooth, and then I'm going to heat up some palm oil. When the palm oil is hot, I'll add the blended pepper mix. And you can use as much or as little oil as you prefer, depending on how oily you like your beans. I'll give this a good mix and then I'll go ahead and season. For beans, I like to keep it very simple with the seasoning, and I just use salt and beef seasoning cube. I'll give this a good mix and I'm just going to fry this for a bit until the color changes. And when you're frying, make sure you keep an eye on it because it can burn very easily at this stage. While the pepper sauce is frying, I'm going to check on the beans because the timer has gone off. So I'll release the steam so the beans can stop cooking. If you're using a pressure cooker, either electric or manual, make sure the steam releases completely before opening the pot for safety reasons. I kept frying my sauce until it turned brown like this before I added the beans. Some people like to add crayfish to their beans, and I've tried it before and it actually tastes nice, but I honestly prefer regular beans without crayfish for everyday beans. Once in a while I'll add crayfish just to make it taste a bit different. And if I do plan to add crayfish, I usually add it at the very last stage when I'm frying the pepper sauce. After adding the cooked beans, I gave this a very good mix, and then next I'm going to add the water left in the pressure pot from cooking the beans. I also added regular water just to loosen it up a little. And I forgot to mention this earlier, if you get heartburn from eating beans, what you want to do is Parboil your beans first. To do that, cook the beans in water until it comes to a boil. When it starts boiling, take the beans out of the stove and throw the water away. Add in fresh water and then add your salt and onion and then cook it until it's soft. When you do that, you'll notice it really helps to prevent heartburn. So after adding the water, I just give this another mix, and then next I'm going to cover this and allow to cook for about 5 minutes just so that everything can really come together. After a few minutes, your sweet beans pottage should be ready. Give it one last mix, and this is what I like the consistency of my beans to be. If you like yours more runny, you can definitely add more water until you get the right consistency. I'm going to be pairing this with some fried plantains or dodo. When serving with beans, I go for semi-ripe to just slightly ripe plantains. I don't like it when it's overly ripe, which is what I know a lot of people prefer. Most times I even like mine a bit under so it has that nice crunch. But because the one I'm using it's a bit riper than I prefer, I'm going to be using my crinkle cutter to cut it. The crinkle cutter is going to give it a bit of texture and crunch, and it also just makes the plantain look a bit nicer. And you can get this crinkle cutter at my Instagram store at Kiki's Favorite Things, or you can get it on Amazon. I'm going to put both links in the description box. Also in the description box you'll be able to find the recipe for this beans pottage, so if you need that, definitely check that out. Back to our food. I fried the plantains on medium heat until it was golden brown. Remove and transfer to a dish lined with a paper towel to get rid of the excess oil. And I usually fry my plantains while making the beans just so that everything is hot and ready to serve at once. Aside from fried plantains, you can enjoy beans in so many different ways. Beans and bread is another of my personal favorite. I usually do this the next day when the beans is about a day old. You can also enjoy beans with akamu or pap, or with drinking gari, which most people love to pair beans with. Another of my favorite way to enjoy piping hot beans is to sprinkle the gari on top, and it's just heavenly. If you know, you definitely know. Let me know your favorite things to pair with beans in the comments. Thanks everyone for watching. A special thanks to all my subscribers. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.